Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the SLAB CARTEL podcast. I got my homeboy, Moon3po. Hey, thank you for coming with us today, bro.
Yes, thank you for having me on. We've been working on it for a couple of weeks now, a couple of months. So happy to be on. First official guest, first time on the podcast. So no, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate the invite.
Bro, I appreciate that so much. So, right off the bat, I'm about to ask you, dream match, WrestleMania, one-on-one, who you got for the belt of all time. It
Dream
doesn't
match
matter who.
all time. Oh, all time. Oh man, it's funny. I just played this in 2K, so maybe I'm a little bit biased because off the top of my dome, it would be CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I
Ooh.
think that would be like life. It could still happen. You never know. Stone Cold's been, here and there. Maybe it does happen. Who knows? But yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, two different parallels. You have a guy straight edge society, never done drugs, don't drink, all that good stuff. They got a brawler and Stone Cold, all about drinking beer, 316, absolute brawler. So yeah, I think dream match off top of my dome, CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Look what happened. Never say never, right? It's
Hey,
wrestling.
I've been wanting to see that. I don't know what WWE 2K it was, but they were promoting that segment. I think Jim Ross was in it, and it was Stone Cold and CM Punk in the room, and they asked a what if question where JR says, tells CM Punk, he goes, "Hey, what if you and Stone Cold, had a main event together?" And he goes, what if, and then Stone Cold's like, "Yeah, what if?" And they both had this stare in their eyes. It was so tense where, dude, I love that match. I love them both dearly. They're in my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, growing up watching wrestling, I saw like the later half of Stone Cold when he was like a GM on Raw, so I didn't get to see
Okay.
like the
What?
true Stone. Yeah, the what? I didn't get to see the true Stone Cold. So obviously, like a lot of stuff I watch is like going back and watching it on now it's on Netflix, but like some of the stuff like on YouTube and stuff like that. So I obviously grew up a big CM Punk fan, still am. So I think they even have a segment. I think it's like 2011, 2010 when he was with the Nexus. And I think Stone Cold's like offering, he's like, "You want a beer?" And so CM Punk's like, "What?" He's like, "Do you want a beer?" He's like, "What?" So like,
Mm.
yeah, I think ever since that interaction, I think Stone Cold even teased it too. I think there was a recent interview that he did with Chris Van Vliet back in January. I think he asked him about it. He was like, "Yeah, like it never came close. Like we talked about it, but it was never nothing that really came close." And I know there's always been the rumblings of Stone Cold being involved in WrestleManias at one point. I know he did the run in with Kevin Owens a couple of years ago. So can it
Remember
still happen?
that.
I know Stone Cold's up there in age now, but I mean, that dude's looking jacked on Instagram with his two cats and his ranch, whatever. So, so who knows? Maybe it could still happen. There's a little piece of me as a diehard CM Punk fan that would think that maybe eventually that could happen.
Dude, and it's awesome that you can play it on 2K because, you know what I mean? I
Exactly.
guarantee you pick CM Punk.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and in the showcase, it gives you the option to pick who you want to be. I was like, oh, I gotta pick CM Punk.
Hell yeah, dude. So I started off with the cards, and then I don't know, like I sell and shit, but at the same time, like it wasn't fulfilling, dude. Like I felt like I wanted to do something more. You know what I mean? Like the selling cards is cool, but like bringing somebody like you on, I just I wanted to open up.
No, I agree. Yeah, 'cause I started off selling. I was just like selling stuff on eBay, and then I was like, man, let's just start making content. I've always made like stuff here and there, but never really like got fully into it. So we didn't start. I didn't start making content like this. It's been like about a year and a half. It's taken a little bit to grow. Obviously, you don't
Yeah.
build Rome in a day, but now it's been cool, man. It's fulfilling, and it kind of gets your stuff out there a little bit more too. So like, if I'm able like if I'm selling stuff on eBay or whatnot, whatever, like it plugs out a little bit more, so it gets more people to it. So it's worked out for me. So like I know you do like more like the live streaming stuff, like the raw stuff. I think that's dope. I haven't expanded to that yet, but yeah, like anything that I can find that you can make videos about that can get your stuff out there. If it's like wrestling or cards or stuff, like I'm all for it.
It's fun, bro. It's fun, and I feel like the hobby has so much to offer everybody, like skill wise, personality wise, like the content reaction for me is just natural because I react like this by myself. I'll just be chilling, just screaming at the TV. You know what I mean? But selling cards is hard, bro. When it comes to how cards grow, depending on the wrestler and things like that, that's where the trick is. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but like, are you noticing people want more like autos and numbered cards?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we're seeing, I don't want to say like a shift, but I think people are like prioritizing autos and numbers stuff, especially now with the relic stuff too. Now, like a lot of the Topps universe that we're seeing, like people are starting to get into the used material, because like I'm not too sure how familiar you are, but like when Panini, when they got rid of the license in 24, when they're getting rid of the license at 24, they have a warehouse which is just a bunch of T-shirts. So were just cutting up these T-shirts and throwing them into cards. So like National Treasures and like Flawless, like some of them they're not superstar worn. Like they're just like they're cool patches. Don't get me wrong, but like there's no like association to the superstar or to the event. Like they were sitting somewhere and they just cut them up and put it in a card. So I think now people are starting, when they saw what Universe is doing and what Exalted is going to do, and then Royalty now that's coming out at the end of the year. Like I think people are starting to like oh shit, like there's a connection to the superstar and that T-shirt. That's cool. Like I'm gonna buy into that. And the autos too. I think the on card stuff. I think people are really liking the inscription. I think the inscriptions too are what's making the autos. Like people are really chasing. I think it's interesting because like now there's like superstars are signing so many cards, and it feels like they're putting so many inscriptions. Granted, they're all kind of unique. But what I'm worried about is like CM Punk, for example. Like there's like a couple of best in the world descriptions. Like where do you rank, like which one? You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all works out. But yeah, autographs, the relic stuff, rookie cards as well. Like people are starting to I think they're putting their focus a little bit into that, minus from like a normal like at a 99 card from like a no name set or from like a lower tier set. So it's interesting.
I've been in the game about a year. Like I started with, I think you and I had chatted about that before. I started with the Cactus Jack WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then before that, I started buying like a bunch of Trick Williams because I started getting into, I'm like, okay, in football, everybody gets the rookie, you know, when he first came out or before he blows up or when he gets drafted or whatever. So I'm like, man, when I saw Trick Williams, I'm like, I'm just going to buy a crap ton of things. And I ended up getting a bunch of Panini stickered autos before I even knew that the on-card, you know, was a thing. There's so much to it, bro. I didn't even know about the relic stuff until I looked at the back of the card when I first started collecting too. Like not actual worn relic, but the autos look cool.
the not superstar worn, not from a disclosed event or from used or whatever. So whatever that's on the back of the card. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, like I come from the baseball world. Well, that's where I started with. I started with baseball cards. So kind of like in the same deal, like kind of like prospecting, like who's the next prospect. So like in wrestling, like you're always gonna have your people that make money, like your Stone Colds, your Punks, like your Tiffys, your whoever's up on the main roster and like absolutely killing it. But like where I feel the potential is in this market, and you're trying to make a little bit of moves, you want to get that connection from like baseball, football, basketball, even like NXT is like where it's at. So like you have a perfect example, like Trick Williams. So like, I bet you bought that stuff for like dirt cheap, like 20, 30 bucks. And now like maybe
like 10, 15.
Now, 10, 15 bucks. Now his auto's like what, 60, 80 bucks. At my vendor show, I flipped a Trick Williams card for like 70 bucks. I bought that crap for like $15 on a bid. Like it's insane. And like Sol Ruka, for example, that's another
those late night bids that nobody's paying attention
those
to.
Late night bids that end like at 10:59 where nobody's on. So like in my opinion, like those people are always gonna make money. Your Stone Cold, your Rocks, your Triple H's, like you know, you want to play it safe and make your money. That you're there. But I think where you really have the potential, where you can like 2x, 2.5, 3x, wherever. Like it's really down to NXT. So like your Kendall Gray, Blake Monroe, Ren Sinclair. I'm maybe biased for Ren Sinclair because I collect Ren Sinclair. But
they're PC.
Yeah, that's one of my PCs. So,
nice.
Like who else is down in the men's side? Like the NXT, Ethan Page.
Ethan Page. I was about to say, yeah, he's killing it.
So guys like that is where like you can buy their stuff like dirt cheap, and when they get to the main roster, you know, you could probably, you know, 2x. So I'm pretty sure you've that Trick Williams collection or sets you had made you quite a bit of money if you flipped it. I'm not too sure if you flipped it or not.
I dude, you know what? I pulled a Liv Morgan 1-of-1 select. Yeah, bro, and I made it quite a chunk. But after that, man, I kind of got into I'm gonna keep mine. This is all for me. It's all mine. You know what I mean? My wife tells me all the time. She's like, "Why do you have like 19 Trick Williams autos?" I'm like, "Shh, it's all part of the plan. There's no plan. I just want them all."
I'm the same way. Luckily, my wife, she comes from like the TCG site, so she collects like Pokemon cards and stuff like that. So she gets the craziness of like wrestling cards, and she's familiar with wrestling too. So when she sees me buying like a no name, she's like, "Why are you buying that for?" I'm like, "Trust me, honey, this is gonna give me some money. Just wait a little bit. when you want something, I sell it. Hey, this is where it came
See,
from.
so I started the WrestleMania version, and I just hoarded as many WrestleMania because I'm like, oh well, the stamps on it, it's a little different, dude. It's still, I don't know, man. Like I feel like that run specifically, because the hobby run I felt like was a little easier to grab, right? Because it was readily available for everybody. But the WrestleMania run, I still feel that people don't truly understand that little stamp
They
is
don't.
gonna do in a couple of years.
They don't. I
Am I
was
crazy? Am I crazy?
no, you're 100% accurate. I was at a show a couple of months ago, and I have a 70 recur base from the WrestleMania format, and then I was trying to get rid of. There's a wrestling card vendor who primarily does wrestling cards, and I asked him, like, hey, like you be interested in it? 'Cause I was building like a lot to just buy and sell eventually, and I gave it to him, and I was like, hey, like I understand you might not be into it just because like right now there's a difference between the WrestleMania format and the hobby format. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I bought like quite a bit of the WrestleMania format ones, and people were going to this table like, hey, like why is this one 80 to 100 plus, and then I could buy this one for $5. I like there's a difference. Like the WrestleMania one was super short printed. It was only at WrestleMania Road in Vegas. It was hard to get. You could only get it if you got the EQL ticket, and you're only guaranteed. I think it was what, one pack, 5 cards, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. So
bro.
super hard to hit. So like if you got a City for Curve base from that set, like you're sitting pretty well. So I was looking to get one too on a bid. I got it for like $60, $70. Again, I think because people don't know the difference between the WrestleMania format and the hobby format. So no, I agree with you 100%. It's definitely, I think it's probably the newer people in the hobby potentially that don't know the difference. It takes someone like myself or like yourself to like know like, hey, this one was super short printed. Here's a story behind it. So I still have mine, but yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. You're not the only one.
Dude, I'm hype. And that's the thing. Do you feel, I mean, and this is where you're the expert, I feel, according to me, right? Because I'm a rookie and this is my first year, last year WrestleMania. We're about to be deep into WrestleMania talks here, but
5 weeks out.
dude, I'm excited. But do you feel, and again, I'm excited for everything coming out because I'm not a hater. I'm not one of those guys that, oh my God, what are you doing? Tops, you're killing the hobby.
So I don't think so. I think when you look at it, I think from like if you like watch my video and stuff like that, or like for the people that have watched my videos or tune in, like we see the wrestling stuff that's been announced and like nothing comes out. So like universe for example, like we went how many months without a set
Yeah.
being released? You know, if you want to count the Bape set, you can. I personally don't count that as a set just because it's like more like a hobby set, it's not a traditional set.
Like a
Um,
collab, yeah.
so yeah, like a collab exactly.
Yeah.
So it's if you want to count that as December, but if not, you got to go back to finest, which I think that was like around October or September, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been some time, and if you kind of compare it to other licenses like basketball, baseball specifically, baseball they're releasing stuff like every 2 to 3 weeks. There's Bowman Best, there's Top Series one came out, and then the next week Bowman Best was coming out, or like Bowman Baseball was coming out.
That'll drive
There's
me
so many
crazy.
sets coming out. So I think for wrestling it kind of gives you like a little bit of break, like for Universe. You can enjoy Universe for a little bit, give it a break, or give it a month time, and then Exalted comes out. So for months, we're kind of complaining like, where is this stuff at? Like, it's not coming out. Like, where is it at? It keeps getting pushed back. Now we're in the air. Now we're in quarter one, whatever WrestleMania time, where we're getting cards. I think that's healthy for the hobby, right? Like, this is the most exciting time for wrestling. How
100%.
many? There's so many eyeballs going to be on wrestling this upcoming like next couple 5 weeks or so. And what do people do? They watch wrestling like, oh, if I'm a traditional card collector, whatever, I like buying cards, whatever. I see somebody on Roman Reigns that's a Roman Reigns for example. Like, oh, like I like Roman Reigns. Like, let's see if there's any cards out there. Now there's gonna be, you have Topps Chrome that's coming out this week. You have Exalted that's coming out April 1st, which is like a couple of weeks before WrestleMania. You have Universe now, so I think it's healthy for it. I know some people don't like it. They're saying like, "Oh, you got to give us a break in between." But I think the more the merrier. I mean, if there's more cards flooding the market, it kind of brings some stability to the market. So there's nothing going to be too high, too low. So if you like a set, so if you like Universe, you go buy Universe. You don't like Universe, well, you got Exalted. You don't like Exalted, well, you wait for Topps Chrome. So I think having more sets being released is going to bring a very healthy stabilization to the wrestling card market for sure.
I like that. I like that answer because, again, I really don't understand too much of what goes into each run.
So yeah, the Universe was the first. This is the first time Universe has hit any Topps license. So like basketball's never had it, baseball's never had it. Well, they just regained basketball, so I really can't say that. But like baseball's never had it. F1, soccer. Like no other set has that a universe set. So wrestling is the first universe set. So it's going to be determined to see if next year we get universe. The way my co-host, my brother, who I do a lot of my content with, he brought a really good comparison. This is like WWE's flagship product. So in baseball, their flagship product is Top Series 1, Series 2, and Update Series. So like to me, this is more of like a flagship product where next year we may get a 2026 Topps universe. If they don't, I mean I can't speak in the future. I don't know what Topps is going to do with it, but yeah, I would think these are going to be the sets that we continue to grow with Topps. Maybe we'll get some new ones. Obviously, there's always going to be your mainstays like Finest and Chrome. But yeah, again, this is the first time that Topps has had the license back since 21. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Hopefully, they continue on with Universe every year. I like it. I know some people have been very hit and
It was
miss on
nice,
it.
man. I thought it was cool, and the fact that the relics are actually worn. I mean, it really, for me, it's like you know, like everybody else, I guess, that wants a relic, you feel closer to the wrestler. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So like, I like Universe a lot. I on my podcast I gave it like a B plus. Like there's what hurts the set is it's outdated for sure. You could see that in the checklist. Like there's so many names in there that have been released or no longer with the company.
Okay.
Yeah, so no longer with the company. So that kind of hurts a little bit. But I think this is a really good like flagship entry. So hopefully we see it next year. I would be excited for it. Obviously change the design a little bit, maybe change the way it's configured. But I mean, I personally am a fan of it. I like it a lot. So to go back to your original question, hopefully they do a 2026 Topps universe. Hopefully.
So going back on, I'm gonna piggyback on what you said. All right, here's a tough one that not a lot of people want to admit. So you just said outdated, and people been released. Has there ever been? Because I know I got one. Has there ever been that wrestler that you went heavy into and they just got released and you're like, bruh, what happened?
So awkwardly enough, when I was like getting into more of like selling and stuff like that, one name that was like very popular was Cora Jade, which she's now known as Elena Black on now at TNA. So I was like, I personally don't PC her, but like I was buying a lot of Cora Jade stuff. I was like, okay, like I think she's gonna get called to the main roster. At the time I was buying her, she was mixing with a program with Roxanne Perez on NXT.
I remember that.
Roxanne Perez got the call up to Raw. I'm like, okay, well I would think Cora Jade's gonna slowly follow her. They're a tag team. They're at that time, and now we have like Rio, we have Last Legend and Nia Jax now, and we have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. At that time, like I was very critical of the women's division, specifically the tag team division, because there wasn't a lot of tag teams.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like, this is the perfect time to get them in together. They can go after the tag team titles, hopefully, have a good decent run. And then like what? I think a couple of weeks after Mania she got released. I was like, son of a, I don't know if I can cuss here, but like, son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
bro, of
like,
course. This is an adult podcast.
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I can cuss, but I was like, son of a bitch, man. She just got released. I'm like, fuck. So then, luckily enough, so I had a Whatnot stream. Luckily, as I started throwing all of her stuff on Whatnot, I know somebody that collects Cora Jade and Elena Black. He's a good friend of mine. He's actually the mod for Babyface Breaks. His name's Brendan.
Shout out.
So I had him. So he was in my Whatnot stream. He's like, hey, you got any Cora Jade? I was like, yeah, dude. Luckily enough, I do. And he bought some of her stuff, I think, from my stream. But yeah, Elena Black, Cora Jade, however you may know her. That was the one where like I was buying some of her stuff for autos, and then like she got released. I was like, damn. Like, luckily, she still sells. Obviously, she has her own stuff, and now with TNA, I'm pretty sure that's helping her a little bit. But
Stabilize the price a little bit.
Yeah, it dropped a little bit. It wasn't anything like dramatic, but it was one where I had a couple of her stuff. I was like, damn, like this ain't gonna. And NXT a main roster call up would have helped for sure, but a release really didn't do that.
Dude, I remember that, and that was kind of weird because I mean I thought that her and Roxanne had good chemistry, so if anything I thought she was gonna get called up and they could have like a program together. For me, dude, it was Karrion Kross. I went ham.
Yeah, Karrion, that's a good one. Yes, I forgot that one too. Yeah,
I went ham on Karrion, bro, and then the release was just so weird and like nobody saw. I mean, maybe some people saw it coming, but me as a fan, I didn't see it coming. He was on fire.
Yeah, that's another guy too. I forgot. Like, yeah, he was involved in main, like same thing, kind of like Cora Jade. I mean, granted NXT, but same thing, involved in programs consistently. He was kind of playing that. Awkwardly enough, he's now what Aleister Black's doing. He was doing, but with what Karrion Kross was doing with Scarlett, like kind of being in the background of some backstage promos, kind of being that little bit of the. If you kind of take a deep down towards the lore of Karrion Kross, like he's the reason why some people either turn heel or sometimes they break up, like the bloodline. So like Karrion Kross was the guy too. Like I went in, I didn't go all in for thankfully enough. But I had sniped a couple of autos. I think there's probably a post on my Instagram. I think at the beginning of the year where took a picture of a Karen Cross. I was like, oh, I think Karen Cross is due for a big 2026, and they are whatever year it was. I'm like, oh man, like I didn't help. Luckily, he's made a name for himself down
in the
wherever
Indies.
down
Oh,
the
he's
main
killing
roster.
it in the Indies.
Indy. I think he actually follows me too on Instagram. Thinking about it now.
Hey, there we go.
So
I haven't gotten that yet.
so yeah, and then his book too. So I know he killed it with his book. And yeah, like I think for like a lot of us, we all thought like, is it a work? Is it a shoot? Like, is he gonna come back? Hopefully he comes back. I think he's due for
I think
a proper WWE run. If that was to be at, but again, yeah, like you mentioned, I know he's killing it down the East in the Indies, GCW, wherever he goes. I've always thought he was AEW bound. Don't understand why that hasn't happened yet, but yeah, he's one guy for sure. I forgot about for sure.
I think he's been working a lot because his YouTube is on fire. His Instagram's on fire. I think prior to that, like his social medias weren't as strong, and I think that's something that TKO kind of really looks into. Like I guess even with the Logan Pauls of the world, they really want that influencer to go back in time. When was your first memory of wrestling? Like now that we talked about the business, let's talk about your heart for a little bit. For you, who was that one character that you just couldn't keep your eyes off when you were a kid?
Man, it's funny enough, I always tell the story, or I always tell like my brother remembers it, and I always tell my wife this story. Growing up, it was Kane. So here's a little funny story.
Good one.
So I grew up a big Kane fan, right? So I think it's like 2003 or 2002. I was watching Monday Night Raw, and my dad had bought me a Kane mask.
Nice.
So I was wearing a Kane mask, and then it was the match here where
and you know who he was already?
No,
oh,
I didn't.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it was completely raw. I was like 5'4",
nice.
maybe. So completely raw. Still thinks wrestling 100% real. I still think Kane and Undertaker are brothers. I think Kane got burned in a fire. So I believe all of that 100%. So big Kane fan. I'm wearing my Kane mask. It's Monday Night Raw when they were still on Spike TV. And then it was a match where Triple H was fighting against Kane. And if Kane loses, he had to take off the mask.
Ooh.
So I was like, that can't happen. Like, I need Kane to win and become champion. I think the World Heavyweight Championship was on the line too. I think he gets screwed over. Evolution gets involved. I think like Randy Orton or like Ric Flair screwed him over. I can't really recall. Anyways, he loses the match, so he needs to take off the mask. Rob Van Dam was his tag team partner at the time too. So Rob Van Dam comes out. Oh man,
I remember that era. Okay.
Yeah, so Rob Van Dam comes out, he helps him, and then he's like telling him like, don't take off the mask, don't take off the mask. And like Rob Van Dam's like sitting on the mat in a split, or he's like sitting down like crisscross or something. So he's sitting down, and Kane like turns around and he takes off the mask. And he turns around, and like the face paint, the eye black was like all like against his face.
He had like a 7 head.
Yeah, he was bald. So my world flipped upside down. I remember being so scared as a kid of that. I took off my mask, I threw it under my bed, and I cried myself to sleep.
Dang.
So that's like my one vivid memory as a kid. So like growing up, I was a big Kane fan. Now I think now it's a little bit controversial to say Kane due to his outside ventures, but yeah, growing up I was a big Kane fan, so that's like my one vivid memory that I always have as a kid that I always like to tell people like that when I think about wrestling and think about stuff like that. It's stuff like that. So like Kane was one of my guys, Rey Mysterio was one of my guys, Jeff Hardy.
Good choices, bro.
Growing up to CM Punk, so he's still my guy, and then I live in San Antonio, so like Shawn Michaels was another guy too that I really connected with for sure.
Shawn Michaels, man. Shawn Michaels is he really turned it around, man. Like he's really doing magic over there in NXT. I'm really happy with his work and the people that he's working with too.
Yeah, no, the whole stuff that he's doing down at NXT, producing it and stuff like that. NXT's been pretty solid. I know their women's division is really, really impressive. The men, I think it still has a lot of potential, especially with all the call-ups like we talked about them earlier, like Trick Williams, Obafemi kind of going up to the main roster. I think the men's division has some catching up to do for sure. But when you look at the women's division, again, kind of going back to some of the names we mentioned, Blake Monroe, Kendall Gray, Ren Sinclair, Tina Paxley, Izzy Dane.
Bro, Paxley, man. Her cards are going crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of good names down there. So if you, again, kind of going to like watching prospecting, I think NXT is definitely like where you want to be at. So, and he's doing a good job producing it. There's some stuff I wish he can change. Like I think Blake Monroe's booking has been kind of, has been 50-50 for sure. But other than that, he's been pretty solid for sure in that booker, head creative, whatever you want to call it, role.
Because like for most of us who grew up, our older selves on NXT, all those guys are being called up and they're succeeding, and I'm ecstatic, and that's where it got me into the hobby. So did you always collect like wrestling cards like as a kid, or that's something
No,
that
not
you?
as a kid. Yeah, not as a kid. No, I was mainly into like baseball cards. So like I was playing baseball younger and stuff like that. So like I wanted to get like closer to the sport. So I was really just buying and collecting baseball cards for the majority of like growing up and even like later, like 4 or 5 years ago. I really didn't take a turn until like 2021. I went to a card show and there was a wrestling vendor with his two kids, and I obviously was still watching wrestling, still do, and he had wrestling cards there, and I wasn't really too familiar with wrestling cards at that time. And then I was like just going through his cards, and I was just buying, just putting stuff aside, like little like guys that I like. Again, the people that I mentioned, the Shawn Michaels, CM Punks, the Canes of the world. And then I was like just picking his brain. I was like, hey, like, is there like a market for wrestling cards? Where do you see? Because obviously he was set up as a vendor, had a little bit of a section, and he's the one that really flipped it for me. He was just like, yeah, he's like, when you really think about it, like wrestling, and this is what I always tell everybody, and this is what kind of got me hooked. Like obviously you see all the stuff behind me. Like I think wrestling fans are like some of the more like passionate collectors and some of the more passionate fans like ever. I don't think that's a hot take compared when you compare it to like traditional sports. Like they're the more like passionate people. Like they're wrestling's 52
And we're
weeks a
loyal,
year.
man.
Like it does not stop. So every week there's something going on where you're following your favorite superstar or your favorite brand wherever you're watching. So he's thinking about it, he's like, the wrestling card market is so small, and wrestling fans are one of the more passionate collectors. And wrestling collectors are going to collect their favorite things of their superstars. So they're going to have their action figures, they're going to have their T-shirts, they're going to have their belts, they're going to have their cups. Like, what's the thing that hasn't been touched yet? It's wrestling cards. So that when he said that, I was like, dude, you're 100% correct. So that kind of like flipped the switch. So I just started buying wrestling cards just for my PC, and I was like, all right, like let me see if there is like a market for it. So kind of going back to some of the bigger names, like buying like small, lower tier stuff of like Stone Colds, your Undertakers, your Triple H, your Shawn Michaels, and then like, I'll just throw up on eBay and they would sell. And I think now with Tops, like Tops has so much like marketing and so much availability to different stuff, like going back to the relics and stuff like that. So kind of what we are talking about earlier, like how do you get closer to a superstar? The relics, right? The relics are on a card. Like let me buy the card. So yeah, to go back to your question, I didn't start with wrestling cards. It's kind of been like a movement. I think we've seen with everybody now, and I think it's right now probably one of the most exciting times to be into wrestling and to be into the wrestling card hobby, as we like to say.
Dude, and I guess that goes into that next segment here. Who do you think is the most undervalued wrestler right now in the hobby?
Man, that's a good question. It was Trick Williams at one point, like you mentioned. They're buying those cheap $10 to $15 autos.
That
Javon
that
Evans was another one too.
yeah,
Javon Evans, like I
came and
was buying
gone.
stuff for like 10, $15, and those are flipping right away. A name we said earlier, Tatum Paxley. You're now two-time North American champion, women's North American champion. Her stuff has been taken off a little bit, but you can still buy numbered autos for like 40, $30. I think that's pretty criminal for her market. So Tatum Paxley was one of them for sure. Uh, on the men's side, man, the men's side has like so much potential. I think there's so many different guys or different routes you can go. Um, I like Kit Wilson a lot. Like you can buy a Kit Wilson auto
Kit
for like
Wilson.
10 Kit Wilson with the hip thrust and the flexing. Kit Wilson's my guy. You could buy his stuff for like I saw an Astro Knights auto from going back to Cactus Jack so for $15. Again, like not realizing that it's super short printed, it's not guaranteed to auto. He has a dual relics with Elton Prince and Universe, so I think
Ooh.
that's a good play.
Sucks what happened to
So
Elton Prince, man. He got hurt
yeah,
pretty
I know.
bad.
Hopefully he comes back. Obviously health is first for all these superstars. So hopefully he comes back. But Kit Wilson's a guy, and yeah, kind of going back down to NXT. I think the potential is really there. So like Ethan Page, I think what we like to see, or I think what WWE likes to see, is like, okay, can we trust them with the brand, and then can they carry that brand for a minute, and then see it transit to the main roster? Kind of we saw with Trick. Like Trick was a two-time NXT champion down there, did his stuff down at TNA. And then we're kind of seeing the same thing with Ethan Page doing stuff at AAA, being the main face down at NXT right now too. I know he's I think he was the third longest reigning North American champion, for if I'm not mistaken.
Think
So
so.
like I just picked up out of 99 green electric from Universe for $40. Like I think that's pretty criminal on card. I think that's pretty criminal. So if I was to pick from the men's side, it's Ethan Page. I think he's bound for a pretty big main roster push once WrestleMania, those main roster calls, if they do that. And then from the women's side, I would go with Tatum Paxley. I would say Blake Monroe too, but her stuff is not gonna pop off in Topps Chrome. Like there's no reason for me to say Blake Monroe. There's no reason why her stuff, her Mariah May stuff too pops off too. But yeah, I would say Ethan Page and then Tatum Paxley from the women's side for sure. Those will be the two. I'm like, all right.
What do you think about Tony D, man?
He's interesting. I know he got the win on Saturday at Vengeance Day. I think that's what they call it, right? Vengeance Day. He's interesting because he signs a lot, and his stuff is dirt cheap. So
cheap.
Like, I don't know where his character is gonna go. That's not a bad play for sure. Like in my eyes, like if you could buy some Tony D stuff numbered for like $5-10 and see when he gets the main roster call up, go up to $30-40, like you're making some money there. So Tony D, I like that one a lot too. It's just gonna, again, kind of goes back to see like, okay, like where is this gonna go? Is it a long-term play? Like, do they really have plans for him? So that's an interesting name for sure.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just an aura thing, but yeah, man, I think Tony D is a good spot for people who want to go cheap and play the lottery a little bit there. What's that one? Because everybody has one. What's that one card that you let go for dirt cheap and it skyrocketed after that?
Oh man, it actually was a Javon Evans auto.
Oh no.
I bought some blasters and some like mega boxes from Topps Chrome, and this was before like his main roster call. I pulled a Javon Evans, I think a refractor auto. I was like, I don't think they're gonna do anything with him too much right now. Like I don't think he's gonna. I don't see him getting called up. Obviously I was wrong 100%. So I think I put it on eBay for like $15 PWE and sold,
no.
and they now hit that auto goes for like 70 bucks. I think I seen some sales of like $100. So that's kind of the where I'm like, all right, I let that one go a little bit. So Javon Evans, that's one of them. I think that's been like the big one for sure. Even some of his rookie cards. So I had some of his rookie card stuff from Select. Luckily, I held on to those. Look, that was like I put it in a box and like forgot about it. And then when he got called up, I was like, oh damn, I have this card. So I had like a green flash prism that I bought from a retail box, or I got from a retail box, and like sold it for like $70-80 at that time. But yeah, Javon Evans, I had a couple of his autos and I sold it a little bit too early.
Dude, man, that's a big jump if you sold it for 12 and it's selling for 70. So I noticed you've been doing a lot of like card shows as opposed to like whatnot. I know you still do a lot of eBay. I mean, I follow you. I know what you're doing, but I really want you to tell me like what's the experience like, because I know you get to talk to people like myself, right, who are super passionate about wrestling, which is a plus, and then you also get to sell. But what do you think do you still think it's the way to go? I know the digital world's taking over, but I want to know your thoughts now that you've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think for me, what I see, especially in my area, I think it depends on where you're at. So for me in my area, there's not a wrestling card vendors. Like if you want to throw me in there, it's me and maybe 2-3 guys. But those guys, they do the bigger shows. So they do like we have some bigger shows in my area, like the Dallas Card Show. We have one in Austin, and then we have one in my area, which are like every other like 2 or 3 months. So they do traditionally those bigger shows. The group that I'm working with, or the group that I work with to do these shows, they're a fairly new group, but they put on some pretty good shows. So for me, my viewpoint was like, okay, like I have a lot of cards. And every time I go to shows or the people I talk to, like there's always people talking about like, oh, like there's never wrestling cards in my area. Like it's hard to find. And like, then you have to go to those online routes, the whatnots, the eBays, my card posts, collects, wherever you're buying your cards. So the way I saw it was, okay, like if I have cards that I already paid for and I can buy a spot for like my first show that I did was $35. This one was 50, which is still not too bad. The bigger shows are like anywhere from like 100, 120, depending how much square footage that you're taking. So the way I saw it was like, okay, like I have all these cards that have been paid for. The spot's not too crazy. Like let's just try it. Like it's like I'm not gonna, like, it doesn't hurt to try. If I'm out $35, I'm out $35. But yeah, from what I'm seeing and what I like about it too, like it gets me out in front of people, gets my content out there more, gets me known in my local area a little bit more. That was one of my goals that I set for myself personally. I was like, okay, like I need to get out there more. I need to put my name out there more, my content out there more. And yeah, like it's funny. Like you'll have your wrestling collectors for sure. Like come out. Like there's a group that came out to that they follow me on TikTok and stuff. Like came out and bought some cards. But like there's people out there who maybe are not like a diehard wrestling fan. They're like a traditional fan and like, hey, like I watched Rey Mysterio as a kid. Like, do you have any Rey Mysterio cards? And they'll buy like $5-10 worth of cards. So that's where I saw the biggest opportunity was. So for me, it was more of like, let's just get out there, set up a table. These cards are already paid for. I'm not losing too much, and let's just like talk to people. Like, and I love doing it. Like, if I can make money behind it, that's cool and all. But if I can have connections with people, just like doing this, talking like wrestling and wrestling cards, like that's what I love to do. Like that's why I have my podcast. That's why I have my content. So if I can make some money behind it, that's cool and all. But if I can get out there, meet some cool people who like the same stuff as me, like what's better than that?
So you think that the in-person sales is still like something that you enjoy more versus like chatting up on whatnot and all that?
I Man, it's tough because like I man, that's a good question. I love the in-person interaction stuff. Like today I was at a card shop and I some guy was going to the wrestling cards too, and like when you see someone face to face and like you're just like talking wrestling like I and wrestling cards, like that's always cool. So the in-person stuff is always fun, but I think obviously online you're gonna have a wider scope of people. So like talking with you and talking with other people, like we mentioned them earlier, like Babyface Briggs and other guys out there that I've connected with over online. Um, that is all good and all, but there is something about the in-person interactions that I do find a little bit more enjoyable because they're in person. They're looking at myself in person. Mine is from like a chat and like I know you by your profile picture and like I don't know who you look like in real life unless you make content. But yeah, I think the in-person interactions for sure is a little bit more enjoyable for sure, but not to take away anything from the online scope of it. Cause I do know like a lot of my fans, or not my fans, but like a lot of people who follow my content, they are online all over the world. So I do try to have a good balance of both of like, okay, I got my in-person people and then I have my online people who, obviously are not in my area that I obviously want to connect with and talk to because, again, going back to what I just mentioned, like I just love talking wrestling and wrestling cards. So if I could do that online in person, it's enjoyable for me for sure.
What do you think is the biggest mistake or mistakes to avoid for a beginning collector?
Man, that's another good question. I think the biggest, I don't want to say like a biggest mistake, but I think like the biggest advice that I could give to anybody who's like either looking to collect and or eventually sell if it's online or venting is like know your audience, know who's popular. I think that's the biggest thing for sure. Like you don't want to have like a long box or like a showcase full of like I don't want to say no name wrestlers, but some of the harder tier, the lower tier wrestlers. So knowing your product, knowing what sells, what doesn't sell, I think is the biggest thing for sure. Like kind of like we were talking about earlier, like there's some cards now that maybe don't have a lot of value because people are putting their, they're looking at different things now, like relics on card autos, minus from sticker autos, or non, event used material. So kind of just knowing like what you like and kind of putting like, okay, what this person or like if I'm a buyer, what would I like to buy? So kind of seeing it from that perspective a little bit, I think that's the biggest thing for sure. So know your market, know what you're buying, and I think the biggest thing too is like just have fun with it. I think some people put a lot of too much focus on like I need to make this amount of money. I need to do this, and the third. Like if you love wrestling, you love wrestling cards, and you love the hobby in general, like just have fun. I think a lot of people put a little bit too much pressure on like their business and their business models. Which I mean, I get it for sure. If this is your your whole life and your whole your this is what pays the bills. I get that, but
It
for
better
me,
not be.
it's my yeah, it's like my side hustle, my side business where if I could, pay a couple of things here and there for like it helps. But yeah, man, I would think know your market, know who you're buying, know who sells, biggest thing for sure. And yeah, man, I would say just have fun with it. Go out there, connect with people, talk to people online. I think that definitely is going to help them out for sure. So I think that would be like the biggest. I think people think they could just buy lots and just put it out there and sell. Like I think there takes a little bit of like some marketing behind it for sure. So yeah, any way that you can create content or do something to get your name out there more, I think that's the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, and everything you said on point. For me though, because I guess I haven't been selling and that for that long. Although I do have a couple of sales under my belt as a collector though, because that's different. I think when you're buying to make profit, I think kind of narrow in a little more on the single card. But as a collector, for me, I was going on Whatnot and I was getting into breaks at first, and I did not know the
Dangerous
dangers
game.
of breaks.
Dangerous game. Dangerous.
Dangerous game. So once I learned my lesson, took a couple L's, and I got some W's, but I took a couple L's. Then I started going to the dudes who were opening packs, and that's another one where like you'll get maybe 4 packs, and I didn't know there was like a science to it, where like the dude will open up a box, and he'll obviously if you keep watching, you'll know that the first 3 weren't a hit, so the last 2 were a hit. So then the guys that are they're bidding like crazy, and that's another dangerous game. Because even when you hit, it could be something like, and no offense to him, but like Bubba Ray Dudley, out of 50. And you're like, I just paid $25 for this. I think the way to go, get what you want, go by the card. Don't like try to like play the lottery at a casino. That's like what I would say. I want to know your 2 Mount Rushmores, right? Your first Mount Rushmore of your favorite wrestlers, and then I want your hobby Mount Rushmores.
Oof. So my personal favorite, man, that changes almost every day. For sure, CM Punk. That will forever be my Mount Rushmore. You would never hear a bad word coming. I'm not talking about CM Punk. Absolutely love CM Punk. Damn, it gets tough after that because, man, I'm thinking about the other 3. Like, man, who would I put for the other 3? We mentioned him earlier. Shawn Michaels. I think it's hard to ignore Shawn Michaels, especially, again, coming from Texas. So following Shawn Michaels a lot. I think that's a guy that I can't ignore. Third, man, this is where it gets dicey. Like, who would I put? Third, AJ Styles. I would have to put AJ Styles on my personal Mount Rushmore.
Great pick.
He's kind of the one that, he was the one that kind of like triggered my brain to like get outside of traditional WWE wrestling. So like following his TNA stuff. And then when he left TNA, going to like New Japan Pro Wrestling, doing all the stuff with the Bullet Club, got me introduced to like the Bucks, Kenny Omega, what Cody was doing down there as well. So AJ Styles for sure. And then the fourth one, that where it can get, again, mentioned him earlier. I think I will put Jeff Hardy on there. Maybe controversial because I have CM Punk on there and Jeff Hardy, where people will be like, that's kind of hypocritical, but I would put Jeff Hardy on there for sure. Again, Jeff Hardy was a guy that I just like connected to the face paint, the armbands, all that swanton bombs off of like ladder. Again, another vivid moment. Exactly. Big ass tower, and it did the swanton off of Randy Orton. Like that was like a 6 spot. So yeah, I think those will be like my 4 personal Mount Rushmore. Hobby Mount Rushmore, man, that can. I think the biggest one is I think you would have to put Hulk Hogan on there. I think his stuff, even before his passing, which his stuff would always move. He signs quite a bit, but again, not a lot of the on card stuff. So Hulk Hogan for sure is you got to put him on there. Stone Cold Steve Austin is a guy that is like, again, kind of going back to what we're talking about, is always going to move, along with The Rock. I think those 2 guys are like interchangeable. Like you can go either or. And then the fourth one, I would say, and who's the name? I don't want to say Tiffy will be controversial.
I mean, it all depends. I mean, I would like to throw John Cena there, but although I
that's I even feel like some of his stuff has still been like undervalued for sure. Like his stuff doesn't move to the mark of like a Stone Cold and The Rock, but like I would think now John Cena. I would even throw the argument for Roman Reigns. Like the year,
very good.
The last since COVID, I think the career trajectory he's been on since then, like that's you can throw Roman Reigns on there for sure. But yeah, I think I would probably go with John Cena. Again, John Cena is one of those guys where he's the GOAT, man. Like I would say John Cena. So yeah, Mount Rushmore when it comes to the hobby, I think it's definitely gonna be those 4. It's Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold, and then John Cena.
Yeah, I feel like, were you one of the people that were pretty pissed that he lost the way he did, or you were like, hey, it's commendable?
I wasn't pissed about it. It was weird. I don't say weird. I talked about it on my podcast where like I didn't feel like we were celebrating John Cena in a way. I feel like we were mourning it, if that makes any sense. Like I after he lost, and maybe it was the crowd that kind of affected a little bit, like all the booing. Like maybe that affected a little bit, like when Triple H came out too and they booed the fuck out of him. Like maybe that hurt a little bit. But like yeah, like I didn't come out of it like damn, like that's it. Like Cena is like that's like we're gonna celebrate Cena. This is like 20 plus years of being the goat on the top. Like I felt like he died and like he's gone and like I feel like we didn't celebrate it enough. So and it's kind of like poetic in the way that you look at his career and stuff like that. You know, I know people are making the comparisons to like not too sure if you're a Star Wars fan, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi where he knows he's gonna lose and like he's given everything to him. So in episode 4 when he kind of just gets hit by Darth Vader and takes a loss and becomes a Force ghost, that's kind of what we saw there. Like he gave his body to this wrestling for 20 plus years. He knows that he has like nothing else to do and tap. So that's the way I viewed it. So I wasn't in the camp that I was pissed. But again, I just felt like we weren't like celebrating him after. I feel like it was like a death, and I feel like he's just
I wanted
gone.
a happy ending. I wanted
Yeah,
a
exactly.
Disney happy ending.
100%. Me being on my podcast, me and my brother, we were doing predictions. Like, yeah, dude, like I don't think I can see John Cena losing. And I get it, he's always talked about like he wants to leave the business better than he found it or when he entered. And now we can say like what Gunther's arguably the biggest heel in wrestling right now. That doesn't happen if he loses. And now he's what Gunther's retired Goldberg, Cena, A Styles now is Brock Lesnar next. I think that will please a lot of wrestling fans, depending on who you ask.
Or Rey Mysterio.
Or Rey Mysterio, that's another guy too. I know he's been, he's up there definitely in age. So is he up there when that time's come? I know he's challenging Cody for the undisputed belt at WrestleMania, but like when Randy comes around and his time comes, I guess Gunther that guy. So yeah, I mean you created a big heel. Like people are gonna say, like, oh, he was already a big heel. Like no, like you needed to solidify a big heel in wrestling. It's hard to do that too in wrestling now. If you really think about it, like, it's hard to truly hate somebody and boo the fuck out of him at wrestling at Advance. And now like look what they're doing with him. So I think it was a choice. Would I would love to see Cena win 100%. But I think the way they go, like I'm not mad about it.
I hear you. I think they had Dom at a really good as a really good heel. The crowd, I think they were more trolling him than actually hating him. I think Gunther, yeah, I think there's even more evil, if that makes any sense. William Regal, like he gives me a lot of William Regal vibes.
There's different in wrestling. Like to me, I always view like there's different heel like levels. There's the heel where you boo to troll, like you mentioned, like Dom. But in reality, you're like, damn, this is good fucking work. Like the stuff he was doing with Ray, like beating him up at his house during Christmas and Thanksgiving, like that's heel stuff. But man, that shit was so good. And then there's the like God, like I absolutely fucking hate this dude. That being Gunther. So I think there's like different levels of being a heel, and I think that's like a perfect example. I think Dom was a guy where you booed him, but you appreciated the work and you appreciate what he was doing. Not saying we don't appreciate Gunther in the work, but there's just more of like, damn, like I just absolutely hate what he's doing right now. He's retired 2 of my goats, that being John Cena and AJ Styles in back-to-back months, and I absolutely fucking hate it. So I think that's where they've created a monster heel in Gunther.
I think so, man. And I think even him, I don't know. Am I wrong to say that he's a little undervalued right now?
100%. His stuff too. Like I had some of his stuff too. They sold for a little bit, but I'm not too sure what his market looks like as far as of like on card stuff. But some of his like his lower tier stuff, like some of his gold out of 50 from Chrome, were pretty cheap. But yeah, he's a good name too. But I think with the heel, it's kind of tough to like connect with the heel in my opinion. So I think maybe that's why we haven't really seen some of his stuff take off too much. But yeah, no, he's a good guy for sure. That where it's a little bit undervalued as far as like being on the main roster and kind of being a solidified name. Where his stuff is still somewhat affordable for sure.
No, 100%. So let's move on to the main events. All right, so CM Punk, Roman Reigns. We had the low hanging fruit comment. And then, we build it up with the Usos punching him in the mouth yesterday for refusing to apologize. Are we getting like a hint of a heel CM Punk? Because he's a little off the hinges right now.
Yeah, so I was watching when he made the comment about his father, Roman's father. I was watching it. And my wife, like, she'll tune in now and then, but she'll just hear like background because it's on our TV, and she's like, we're doing stuff around the house. And like when he said the line, I was like, oh fuck, like he went there, like even in my eyes, like
Me
damn, like
too.
that's kind of, I was like that's kind of crazy, man. And she was like, what happened? I was like he just like mentioned like burying his next to his dead father. Like, that's kind of crazy, and I think that's been like, again, I'm not gonna talk bad about CM Punk. You're never gonna hear anything coming bad from me. But like, I think when you see it online, there's some people who like want that 2011, 2012 CM Punk, where if you go back and watch that, that dude was talking shit about everybody.
He was
Uh,
cutting everybody's neck, bro.
Triple H, John Cena, like he was talking The Rock. And I think that's been like a little bit of what we've been missing from him so far. Not saying like I don't hate it, but not this babyface run that he's been in since he's came back, but like that's been some of the stuff that we've been missing. So I was like, as far as of like me being shocked, like I don't hate the fact that it will be a heel turn, because you can kind of like the whole crowd too was saying like apologize, like they kind of agreed like that's kind of
Just say
crazy what
sorry.
what you yeah, that's kind of crazy what you just said. Uh, but yeah, I think it definitely sets up. I don't want to say like a true heel turn, because obviously he's like one of the bigger faces in the company when it comes to like merch. He's on the 2K cover and stuff like that. So I don't know, it'll be like a true heel turn, but as far as like if you want to put someone as the bad guy, quote unquote, like I think CM Punk is in a perfect position where he can flip that switch and definitely act like that true heel. And he didn't even apologize on Monday. So um, even though he kind of said some very few fair points about Jey Uso, like Roman Reigns still hasn't apologized for that. And every time he mentions that, Jey Uso gets like fucking pissed, which I don't understand. But yeah, to go back to your question, like yeah, I think this is a good like little point, like where if you want to have a true bad guy versus good guy, like I think CM Punk's in that position where he can dive into that for sure.
Yeah, I just it was interesting. I mean, I get why, right? Like they're bringing back the bloodline slowly, but at the same time, like I don't know. I felt like, well, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see, because I can't talk too early. Roman Reigns is coming back on Monday night. So is Brock Lesnar. That'll be interesting to hear
Yeah.
what they both have to say. So I'm gonna pause there, because if I talk too early, then I'm gonna feel silly, because it's unpredictable lately. It's been extremely unpredictable, which is great. Um, One of the most, I guess, shocking things for me, and I know I got a lot of comments on TikTok of people just talking crap, but they're like, I was upset that they took the belt off of Drew McIntyre so soon. Like I know we needed to move tickets, and I know Drew versus anybody isn't really a draw, but in my opinion, I feel like TKO is kind of like taking the soul out of storylines a little bit. I mean, am I wrong to say that I think Cody Rhodes winning on SmackDown was kind of like flat?
I would say I wouldn't. I mean, flat. I think it would be a good word. I think to me, it was predictable. Like once we knew Randy won the Chamber, I think we kind of knew from the end of what we saw play out in the Chamber. Drew costing Cody again, like we kind of saw him cost it at the Rumble. I think we kind of even knew even before the Nick Aldis stuff, like there was going to be some way to get Cody involved in the match if it was going to be a triple threat. I am a little bit surprised that they went to the single route. I think if you wanted to, appreciate Drew, and I think the way that potentially I would have gone would have been a triple threat. If you want to throw Jacob for two, and then you could have done a fatal four way where it's Drew, Cody, and Randy Orton as your triple threat. You could have gone that route, and they've done that in the past, so it's not like because Bianca won the Chamber, kind of going back to the women's side. Like Bianca won the Chamber last year, and then they threw Rhea Ripley in there and for a triple threat. So it definitely was doable. They've done it in the past. Um, so I would say it was more predictable in a sense of where like we kind of knew like all right, like Cody's going against Drew. We knew Randy's the Elimination Chamber winner. Like it's kind of hard to go against Cody versus Drew. Yeah, I was in the camp where like, man, like I feel bad for Drew because he was, he's been on this run of chasing the title for so long, getting screwed over, by the likes of CM Punk, the Bloodline, guys like that, and finally getting it. But kind of going back there, like kind of what you mentioned there, like I think TKO just sees dollar signs, sees money signs for sure. And what's a bigger draw? Seeing Drew and Cody again for the 1,000th time, where how long they've been wrestling, or seeing seeing Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, which we haven't seen yet since Cody's been back. We haven't seen that yet. So I think we kind of saw. I don't want to say hypocritical, but like fickle. I always like to say, because people were always like, "Man, we need Cody and Randy. We need Cody and Randy. We need to see it." and now that it's here, like, oh, we don't want it. We don't want it anymore. We want Drew. We want this, and that. So I can see both camps, but I think from like my side, I do like the aspect of Randy and Cody. Would I would love to see Drew involved in a triple threat, throw Jacob for two in a fatal four way for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the Drew and Cody is it's still you got again you got 5 weeks to solidify. Now, kind of going back to your question about CM Punk, like the heel turn. I think if you really want to get this spiced up, one needs to be a heel. You can't do babyface versus babyface. You can't do that.
Yeah, I was talking
If the
about
crowd,
that. Yeah.
if the crowd's gonna boo Cody, which I think is like their most disliked video on YouTube, like is it crazy to go Cody Rhodes as a heel and Randy Orton as a face? I know it's always been flip flop in the past, but is that crazy to think about? So I think again, don't want to jump too ahead because you still got 5 weeks to get there. But it's gonna be very interesting to see what they do. I think it's gonna be hard to ignore the Cody booth. I think they're gonna be there for sure. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and I made a video about that. I made a video about because nobody wants to boo Randy, right? Like he's almost on his way out, and I say almost because he looks great, he moves great, but then again he has some strange injuries. We already saw Cody and Randy where Randy was a heel. I don't know if you remember where he slapped Dusty Rhodes in the face, and I think it's time to bring back villain Cody Rhodes, right? Because we've already seen the good guy in a suit with a smiley face for a while. I know they want to make him the next John Cena where, he's doing everything for kids, right? But then again, if you really want things to move, in my honest opinion, right, like what you mentioned, you can't have two good guys. I mean, this isn't the 80s where you have Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, right, where everybody's just no, like I feel like we've gotten so deep now where there has to be a good guy, there has to be a bad guy, and it's a perfect opportunity for Cody to get like some heat because he's good at it. I mean, do you remember his run as a heel? I mean, and he didn't even want to do it in the other company. It just came naturally. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that would make it more interesting. I think it would allow Randy to truly, because I mean, he has to win, right? I mean, Randy can't lose at this point in his career.
At this point, because Randy's chasing what 15, right? He's chasing this will be 15, so that'll put him over Triple H, and he'll be 1 away from Ric Flair and then 2 away from Cena. So, and kind of like you mentioned there, I don't know what rest of his career looks like, what that timeline looks like, but there's no denying, like you mentioned, he's had some nagging injuries. The back injury, I know, is the big one for sure. So. Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. I know they've kind of been on the Cody trajectory where they're kind of just like stat building at this point. Now he's, a 4-time undisputed champ at this point. So maybe it's a stat building where Randy can get it, stat build that, get the 15, and then drop it back to Cody eventually. So maybe they go that route. But yeah, I think, again, I think they do need to turn Cody heel. Maybe not a true heel, but act like a true heel in this sense for this feud. And then, do the babyface turn again. Kind of like maybe what we saw with Cena, where Cena just on a random episode of Friday Night SmackDown was like, oh, I'm a good guy again. I'm a good guy again. So maybe you do that with Cody. Maybe that's the way to get him back. But yeah, I think if you're creative, you're Triple H, you're TKO, you like, your viral moments, like what's going to be better than like Cody Rhodes turning heel on Randy Orton, like beating the crap out of him. Maybe he has his weight belt, like slaps him or something, or like welts him with the belt, like kind of we saw The Rock was doing to him a year ago or 2 years ago at this point.
That was wild, bro. That was some wild
that was a different, that was like prime peak WrestleMania season. So maybe you do that route too. So yeah, again, it's going to be very interesting to see for sure.
Because I don't think they ever touched. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they ever figured out who attacked Jacob.
Yet to be determined. Yeah, they haven't figured that out. So maybe they do the route of Cody Rhodes. Like maybe it was him. If you want to do Randy, you could do that too. Maybe it is Drew if I want to set up their Drew and Jacob match at WrestleMania, which it seems like that's where they're going. But yeah, they have yet to determine who attacked Jacob, which you bring up a good point. I didn't even think of that. So yeah, maybe it was Cody who did it and kind of fought his way to the title picture again. So you never know.
I hope so. Brings me to my next one, and this is the women. I think Rhea was the only true option for WrestleMania for Jade, and I've been honestly, I feel bad for all the hate that Jade gets, but then I understand it. Her character is built for destruction, but she's never around. She almost does the the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns where she just appears every now and then, And I don't think that somebody in their prime, especially holding the belt that long, where you have people like Rhea, hopefully Bianca comes back, but you still got Io, you still got pretty decent names that can hold that belt and wrestle weekly. Do you think they finally take it off her? Is it fair for them to be like, all right, Rhea, go ahead, get back on top? I mean, it's a strange situation, and I want to pick your brain there.
Yeah, I think with Jade, and then we talked about it on my podcast. I think with Jade, it hasn't really been at the fault of her. It's really been the fault of the creative. And you look at that SmackDown brand, like there hasn't really been any big babyface women talent, and it's kind of what hurt Chelsea Green. I know we didn't mention her, but it hurt Chelsea Green in the U.S. title and Julia as well. Like you look at the women talent down on SmackDown, like there wasn't a lot. Like when Jade became champion, Tiffy went away for she had, I'm pretty sure she had nagging injuries, needed time to go, which by all means needed to do that. But like who was left with her? Michin and BFAB. Like when you have Michin and BFAB going for the undisputed women's championship, like that's or the women's championship, like that doesn't help your reign. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
really help. I know now they threw in Jordan Grace towards the last month or 2 months or so, which that's kind of helped. But
Is she
I mean,
hurt? I saw a video.
yeah, she hurt it. Yeah, she hurt
The
her ankle.
ankle,
I
right?
think on a I think on a main event dark match. I think this past. I think on
That's
Friday.
unfortunate.
I think.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, that sucks. So and then yeah, you have Jordan Grace who just got called up to the main roster, and then you're already feeding her to Jade Cargill. Like that just showed how bad the women's division is. So I don't think it's a fault of Jade Cargill. I just think it's a fault of one bad booking because again, going through BFAB and Michin, like when I see them on my TV screen, I'm like, dude, not this shit again. Like they're gonna run this back again, and then. Again, no disrespect, Jordan Grace. She did great work down at NXT and TNA, but like again, not really a big name right now to go after Jade Cargill. So I think, and right now, I think you do have to put the belt back on Rhea because that also opens up some opportunities for her to, you want to run it back with Jade, you could do that. You could want to run it back with a heel Tiffy. I think that's a perfect example where you can
Ooh,
flip the switch
I
and
didn't
get a
think
heel
about
Tiffy.
that.
I've been clamoring to get hit Tiffy back to being a heel. If you go back and watch her NXT stuff, like that is like prime Tiffy right there. Not saying she's not in her prime, but like elite work from Tiffy. Go back and watch some of her NXT stuff. So you got that. If you really want to go down the NXT route, you want to call up Izzy Dame. You want to call up. I've always said too, JCJ needs to call up. That opens up a feud with her. So yeah, I think in this case here, again, not the fault of Jade Cargill. I think she's a great worker. Great. I think her in ring works okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. But I do think you need to put the belt on Rhea so you can start opening up these feuds. And then if it's I know Charlotte and Alexa are so involved in that tag team, but open up the pair to them as well. Opens up to Julia. So I think there's different ways you can go. Where I just think right now with Jade, you're kind of stuck because there isn't any true good baby faces right now on the women's side. Definitely on the SmackDown side.
And that's the point, right? Where what you mentioned earlier, I think that they purposely are getting the next, kind of what we saw with Trick, Javon, Oba. I think we're about to see that right now, coming from NXT. Because I mean, Sol Ruka is killing it. I think, and Paxley too. So I think that's after this WrestleMania. I really think they're gonna bring a whole batch of women over to kind of like really refreshen or facelift the women division. I want to touch on Liv Morgan and Stephanie Verker. Um, do you put the belt back on Liv? Because it feels like she's back to her prime again, man. Like, I mean, I can't see her
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think, what if there's a name that's gonna pin Stephanie for the first time on the main roster, it's gonna be Liv. Like there's really nobody else on there, minus from Rhea potentially, that's like on that level that can pin Stephanie. Like they didn't even Tiffy couldn't even beat her at was it Night of Champion, I think they did in Saudi. Um like they've put so much stock into Stephanie and she's done fine in the main roster. I don't think it's up to the level of NXT stuff. Again, you can criticize the booking for that. I think there's always been like a very inconsistent jump between from NXT to the main roster. So not saying she hasn't done anything great on the main roster. I think she has. But yeah, I think if there's going to be someone that can beat Stephanie or should beat Stephanie, it definitely is Liv. Uh, when she picked her to when she hit her with the microphone, like that was deadly.
Oh, I remember
All
that.
the in ring promo stuff that they're doing. So yeah, I think again, if there's going to be someone that's going to dethrone Stephanie, as we would like to say here, I think it has to be Liv, right? Like who else is going to be if it's not Liv?
I like that. I like that answer because I feel the same exact way. I can't even debate you on that. All right, man. I appreciate you. I want to do this again with you. It's been amazing talking the hobby. It's been amazing talking wrestling. Here's where you can follow my boy.
Okay, if you want to follow me everywhere at Moon3po, again, that's over on YouTube, X, Instagram, whatnot, eBay at Moon3po. That's everywhere. Again, if you want to listen to me talk about this more into detail, again, I have my podcast collecting the 123 with my brother. Again, you can find that over on YouTube. It'll be under the Moon3po channel. Again, if you're an audio listener, just like hearing me talk, don't want to see my face, you can listen to me over on Spotify and Apple. Again, that is collecting the 123. And yes, again, thank you for the invite. I know we've been working on it for a couple of weeks here, so glad we were able to get some time to get it going. Whatever you need from me, let me know. I'll be happy to join in because again, I just love chatting about this stuff. It didn't even feel like an hour, dude. I feel like we're chatting for a couple of minutes here. So
Right.
yeah,
That's
whatever you
what
need from me,
wrestling
man.
does.
Whatever you need from me, man. I need it. Whatever you need from me, I'll be happy to help you out. You're doing some great stuff over on Instagram as well. So I want to tip my cap out to you over on
Appreciate
TikTok
it.
and YouTube. So I want to make sure I give you your flowers. You're doing some good stuff over there. So yeah, whatever you need from me, man, will help you out as much as I can. And again, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate the invite.
Thank you. And I'm gonna take your name here for a second. So special guest referee. 1, 2, 3. Ding ding ding. It's over.